Hi, welcome to IELTS Wagi. Today I'll talk about something that has affected certain students at certain times, as in mostly it's seen that um, it happens that students are not able to get the score even though they are very good. And it's quite a common phenomenon when IELTS is in the picture. As in, I have had some students, they were actually very good and they got 7.5 in speaking when they could have gotten an 8.5 also or something. So, mostly, I would say this video is about the upper crust who are good but don't get what they deserve. Still, their scores are not that bad that they should be, miserable or anything, but let's try and find a reason for this thing, as in why to lose even 0. 0.5 when you deserve it fully. So sometime back I took a test called Oxford ELLT, and it along with the result card gives you a feedback report also, like what your weaknesses were, what you can improve, and other sorts of things. And that is given in IELTS also, but that's a very generic report. If you've seen, you get one feedback report there also, uh, but they are one for all, as in the IELTS report cards. Here, it's very personalized. They give you this particular feedback form where they write your mistakes, some of them, and you are supposed to be better according to them. So I had my report, and let's see if the errors were really errors. So this test gives you scores out of 12, as in 12 listening, 12 reading, 12 writing, and 12 speaking. And the examiner gave me a 12 on 12 in speaking, and I'm thankful to her. And also, she was a native speaker, a native teacher, an English person herself. And of course, I'm going to make you go through the entire speaking report, and let's see if the errors she pointed out are actually errors or not. So I'm going to read this now. Um, in the presentation, you fully met task requirements by providing relevant information. And let me remind you this: 12 in this test means 9 in IELTS. You fully met task requirements by providing relevant information, including advantages and disadvantages of degrees and education. Um, you supported your points with examples and personalization. All content was relevant. Language was appropriate for the subject matter and largely accurate. For example, cerebral, educational, testimonies, Herculean, with minor errors not impeding understanding. Now, the first error that has been pointed out is get as much educated as you can. Now, I agree, get as educated as you can is fine, but this is also fine. No, how is this wrong? And let's see. So I'm going to type the same sentence on a grammar checker and see if it is actually wrong. Get as much educated as you can. Now it's perfectly fine. And if someone is snooty enough, if someone has the bottle uh, of all the wisdom in the world, if someone has the chutzpah to, as in, argue with me, he can type an explanation in the comments, and I would be happy to explain it further. But I know it's right. So, who is at fault right now? Very many. Now she says this is an error. Now, how is it an error? Very many is a very common structure, and Macmillan Dictionary supports me. So very many is a right structure. What is the problem with this one? Why did she consider it an error? I don't know. A range of structures were also accurately and fluently used. For example, modals, conditionals, and relative clauses. Your presentation was delivered confidently and without hesitation, although at times very fast. Your speech was well signposted, uh, with a variety of expressions. For example, first I'll give you some advantages. In conclusion, however, that would be my final stance. You demonstrated clear phonological control with appropriate intonation patterns consistent with the main messages. Errors were extremely rare and very slight. Example, the stress in saddest. Okay, I pronounced the word the same way as I pronounced it just now. So let's go to a dictionary and find the pronunciation of this word. So I speak it again. Saddest. Of course, there's another pronunciation, sadist, but at a time I can use only one, no, when I'm speaking. Now, don't say you are bigger than Merriam-Webster.
Saddest. 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 Saddest.
So again, who is at fault? What was my fault? This was a very strong performance and pronunciation is clearly understood with no L1 interference. In part 3 of the speaking test, you fully met task requirements by giving pertinent and extended answers with extra examples to reiterate points made in your essay. This test has this component in the speaking part that they ask you questions about your writing test, like what you wrote. It is explored further, why you wrote this, what was the purpose of this one, blah, blah, blah. So if there could be something else, what would you write? Things of these sorts. After that, the lexis and grammar selected were suitable for the subject matter and showed complexity. For example, you used a range of higher level and topical vocabulary throughout, and any errors were minor. Now, again, we do want to be the upper hand. Now, I know the general expression is we want to have the upper hand, but I changed the context. I was talking about a person who wanted to be the authority rather than who wanted to have the authority. I know this is the general expression, have the upper hand, but I changed the meaning also, no. So that means they are not able to capture everything that you speak, and if you contextually change it, you are in the soup. After that, um, every household have a pet. Now, people are going to say every household has a pet. I know every household has a pet, but there is this grammar concept called subjunctive, the subjunctive mood. And when you use the subjunctive mood, you use it with certain verbs and certain adjectives. So when you use the subjunctive mood, you use only have, regardless of what the subject is. Now, I can show you that. can see this example. So whenever you use such verbs, demand, insist, recommend, suggest, you use the have version afterward. So my point was, I recommend every household have a pet. Otherwise, I know every household has a pet or something. So again, she was not able to capture it and she considered it an error. I don't think any other mistake has been written afterward. Now, as I said, this happened to me and this test gives a report, so I'm able to, demonstrate something that otherwise would have been impossible. But this can happen to you also, so don't lose heart when you are not given something that you deserve. As in, sometimes it happens that you're given a 7.5 in speaking when you know you are an 8.5 speaker or maybe better. That could be an error on the part of the examiner. And remember, uh, when you take the test in India, the examiners are mostly Indians. This was a UK based lady. So if she can, make such mistakes, then Indians are, supposed to be given that leverage, or we should cut them some slack. So don't worry, don't judge yourself. It's just an exam. If it's an immigration exam, my case is different. I'm a teacher. I need to have the best results so that I can be presentable, I can be saleable, and other things. You guys just need it as much as you need a ticket. So why do you care so much about it? Get a good degree from a college, in English, and then you can measure your real English potential. Otherwise, these exams are just as important as my ball sack. So don't worry, be happy. I hope you liked this video. Give it a like if you liked it, and please subscribe to my channel.